Good evening from Scott Trade Center. I'm Ken Wiebe along with Ian MacIntyre. Ian, 4-0 victory for the San Jose Sharks. Quite an impressive response. What did you think of the game overall?
I thought they were even better than they were in Game 1, and I thought San Jose deserved to win Game 1, and I think right now the Blues should be thanking their lucky stars that they are tied in this series, because it easily could be a 2-0 series headed back to California. I think St. Louis, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to carry the momentum and energy that they had in winning Game 7 in the second round the way that the Sharks seem to have done.
What impressed you most about their game today? Obviously special teams a factor, winning that battle 2-0 and killing all 6 minor penalties, including the 5-on-3 and the double minor to Patrick Marleau.
Well, two things. The special teams obviously were great, and they're a huge factor, and they're always going to be a big factor in the playoffs. But to me, one of the maybe underrated stories so far in these two games is how dominant the Sharks' first line has been at 5-on-5. Joe Pavelski, Joe Thornton, and Thomas Hertl are having their way against whoever they're out against, and most of the time they're out against the Berglund, Backus, Steen first line for St. Louis. That is not a good sign for St. Louis. The reason it's a little bit kind of under the radar is because they haven't really put up points yet. But as long as they keep out shooting them by a margin of about 5-2, which is what it is through two games, that line is going to be a big factor for San Jose.
Obviously Brent Burns, a huge game today with the 2 power play goals and the one-timer, but again, I think one of the more underrated players in the series has been Marc-Edouard Vlasic. You spoke with him today. Yeah. Why is this guy underrated? He's obviously a great player.
Well, he's not underrated with Team Canada because he's already got, of course, an Olympic gold medal, and he's going to have a chance to get a World Cup medal. Do they give gold medals in the World Cup?
I think it's a funny-sized trophy.
Yeah, it's probably a gift certificate to the keg or something. And we weren't paid to put the keg in this video. Now, why is he underrated? I think partly because he plays such a quiet game. He's a well-rounded player. You know, a player that I cover a lot in Vancouver is Dan Hamhuis, and he's been the same way over his career. Just does everything well, and until you see him every game and pay attention to what he's doing, you don't really appreciate how good he is. I think the other thing with him, playing on a team where there's such marquee stars, I mean, how can you compete for the spotlight with Brent Burns, and then you've got, you know, Pavelski, Thornton, Marleau, Couture up front. There's a lot of good players on this team.
Where do the Blues go from here? I see them a lot in the Central Division, and to me they looked you know, quarter or a half step behind for a lot of today's game.
Yeah.
Obviously Troy Brouwer, 2 posts and then a point blank chance where Jones absolutely robbed him with the right pad, but overall they don't seem to be generating as many quality scoring chances. Does that surprise you?
It does a little bit. I think their biggest failing so far is that they have not been able to keep the puck in the San Jose zone. The Sharks have been able, for the most part, to move it out quickly and cleanly. Everybody knows how physical the Blues are, what a big team they are. Mind you, the Sharks are a big team too. But for that heft of the Blues, that physicality to really make an impact, they have to keep the puck in the offensive zone. They have to work the Sharks defensemen and crash the net and get some greasy goals. And right now, they're not, for whatever reason, they're not doing enough things well to actually keep the puck in the Shark zone. They have to find a way to take this battle down to the other end of the ice, because, you know, Brian Elliott has been terrific. There's been other good players, obviously good performances for the Blues, but right now they're, as I said at the opening, they're really lucky to be in this at 1-1.
And although one of them was an empty netter, the 4th line for the Sharks gets 2 goals today. That's obviously a huge boost for them. Ken Hitchcock said it after the game that for whatever reason the Blues have not been playing well at home, but they've been able to raise their play on the road. And if they don't do that, they could soon find themselves trailing this series. Thanks for watching from Scott Trade Center. I'm Ken Wiebe and Ian MacIntyre.